Hey, Tom here, FlipAnything USA. So on my blog, I show how I built my real estate empire. Bought my first commercial property when I was 19 years old, and I was a millionaire by 28. And I show you here how I did it then and how I continue to do the same thing all the time. Today, I was listening to Ben Mallah, and Ben Mallah, I think he's about the same age as me, and we seem very similar in our backgrounds, at least as investors. And really, he's the only one I've seen on YouTube, other than myself, that's pretty much seems very much the real deal, and starting with, very similar background. Just buying and bettering properties, and I really hadn't seen anybody quite like him that is as closely matched to myself. So I was listening to him talking about building an empire, and the couple things there's a couple things I'd add to what he put in there, and I think everything he said was spot on. But about fixing up properties, he says you're looking for a property that you can improve, right? You want one that you can make better and make money on. And the only problem with that in some cases is that you can get, they got houses in Michigan and, places, even outskirts of some Texas town, you can get houses for $30,000-$40,000. And the problem is you can't really make any money on a $30,000-$40,000 house that's a fixer-upper if you're in a $30,000-$40,000 neighborhood. You follow me? You could have houses that are selling for $50,000, and maybe you can buy something for $35,000, but if it needs very much work, there's just not enough meat on the bone to do a fix-up and resell it at a profit. That happens a lot. That can happen on more valuable properties too. It's kind of relative, but it's really tough when you're down in those homes that are around $30,000-$40,000. And people always think that I buy nothing but fixer-uppers. It's not true. If I can buy a home, I just buy things that are under market. It's got to be worth more than I'm paying for it. Even if it's a fixer-upper, it's got to be a really good deal for a fixer-upper, not just a good deal off of what's on the market, because you factor in those expenses. So let's just say I have a property that needs $10,000 worth of work, and I can buy it for $30,000, and it's going to be, it might be in a $50,000 neighborhood. Well, that probably wouldn't be quite enough for me to mess with, because the downtime, if it needs kitchen countertops and, some fixtures, the problem is when you get into the kitchen, and I'll tell you right now, when you got to start playing with the kitchen, yuck, it's a mess, because just about any improvement you do inside will make everything look 10 times worse. In other words, you put a new dishwasher in, all of a sudden everything looks like it needs to be replaced that's around it, and that's the kitchen, the countertop, and everything else. You're better off keeping everything kind of in that 70s theme. If you can just clean it up and make it look clean is everything. So and in fact, Ben was talking about cleaning up the outside, and believe me, number one thing is, if the interior's decent, just make it super clean, make those windows spotless inside and out, and then on the outside of the building, that's where you can kind of get the most bang for your buck, because that's the curb appeal, right? That's what gets people to stop and look and go, wow, this looks great. And if they're a user, they can imagine themselves living in this deal, and in that house or whatever. Maybe it's a commercial, but let's talk about houses primarily. On those little deals, you got to be very careful, because there has to be such a big margin. When you're in a $50,000 neighborhood, you really got to be buying it for much less than probably half, because if you have to get inside and start doing much inside, I tell you, I bought a house. I think I paid $34,000 for it, and it was in a $65,000 neighborhood. And that was nice. I was going to make some money on this thing, because the insides were okay. It was filthy, and in fact, in my book, I think I talk about it. There's cockroaches everywhere. In fact, the day after I bought the place, I had it bombed, and when I came back in the next night, the lights had gone off. I forgot to put the power on my name. So I come in at about 7, 8 o'clock at night, and it's pitch black. outside it was really dark for some reason. And when I went inside, no lights. So I'm sitting there walking around inside this house I just bought, and I hear crunch, 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 crunch. And, anyways, so I went and got a light, and I look, and I mean, thousands and thousands of dead cockroaches all over. Beautiful wood floors, but cockroaches everywhere. In fact, you have to look that story up. I'll talk about it some other time, but it was a good story because I made a lot of money on it, and it was one of my earlier deals, too. But what I was going to talk about is even with that margin that I had a nice margin because all I had to do was paint it, cleaned it up. Part of the problem with this place was it had crap everywhere. I mean, there were so many cockroaches living in this thing. It was pushing the cabinets off the walls. I remember the stove being pulled out. There was dead cockroaches sitting in grease. I mean, it was disgusting, really disgusting. That's why I got such a great deal. Anyways, after what was I getting at here? So I got the thing cleaned out. I remember I had guys. There were so many wheels. The guy collected wheels or something. If you can imagine a garage 3 foot deep in wheels of every kind, wheelchair wheels, wagon wheels, I mean, tricycle wheels, bicycle wheels. There were so many rims and tires, and not just cars. Primarily, it was every other kind of wheel, like bicycles. I don't know what was going on, but anyways, and there was rats crawling through it. My guys had their legs, the cuffs of their pants, their pant legs, they tied them closed because one of the guys had a mouse run up his leg. And so anyways, they were freaked out, but they got that whole thing cleaned out. I had a dumpster full of wheels that left that property, and I got it all cleaned out and go, man, I'm gonna make some money on this. This is great. And then the next day I pull up, and I thought, oh, that's weird. It looked like condensation on the windows. The windows looked like a bunch of condensation. And I'm like, oh, that's weird. The weather didn't seem to warrant that kind of wet condensation. So and so I go in, I open the door, and I look in, and to my horror, it wasn't condensation. Some kids had come in there, little kids, because I found out who did it. And they came in, and they got the lid off a 5-gallon bucket of paint, and they found a broom, and they dipped a broom inside a 5-gallon bucket of paint, and then they began to help me paint. They said they were going to paint the place for me. They painted the windows. That's what I thought was condensation, was whitewash paint. And then they took the paint and they sloshed it on the walls, and I just had the thing textured. It was beautifully textured and painted, and now I've got these ribbons of paint that are drying hard, and that's now part of the texture. So where I'm going with this is you gotta have a big margin so that when you have something like that happen or something else like that happen, you gotta have enough money on there to take care of that. Unknown, just unforeseen problems. A lot of times that can be plumbing and anything else. In this case, for me, it was vandalism. So I had paint all over the wood floors, and this was it was a big house. It was about a 2,000 square foot house, actually. And so I had paint on the floors, paint thrown on the walls that dried, that destroyed the texture that I had just done, or, affected it where it had to be repaired. And then I had to scrape paint off of nearly all the windows in the house. And anyways, and I found out the kids that did it, and then I immediately went over and said, hey, I need to talk to your dad. And I got a hold of Dad, and he was a nice guy, actually, but he didn't have any money. And in fact, he got a chuckle out of it. He was laughing. I was laughing too. It was kind of funny, but it was also costing me thousands of dollars. But anyways, and that was when a few $1,000s was a lot of money to me back then. But anyways, he gave me $100, and that was like not even 5% of the problem or cost that it cost me. But these are the things you got to look out for. So what my point was, you really can't do much of a fixer-upper when you got houses that are 30, that are, whatever. Say a $50,000 neighborhood now. I mean, when I remodel a kitchen, it costs $50,000 now. By the time you get the appliances and new tile and cabinets and, countertops and, all the other stuff that goes with that, it gets very expensive. You're much better off if you can find a house that is lived in, so you know all the plumbing, all the stops work underneath the sinks. Everything is kind of working, okay? The plumbing works, people live in there. That's the kind of, but now just the outside's a dump. Maybe the screens are torn up, maybe a couple broken windows, trash in the yard, a way overdue paint job. Maybe it might even need a roof, okay? If it's a small house or something, the bottom line is the exterior is usually a lot cheaper to doll up, because you can just do it with paint and a little landscaping is the main reason. Roof is a roof. That, is going to cost what it costs. But it gets much, much more expensive inside. So I would just say, adding to Ben's stuff is you got to find stuff to fix up to make money on. That's great. But in that class of property, it doesn't usually work if it's under $50,000, unless somebody's going to just give it to you, because you could spend $50,000 on a free house, and it wouldn't be worth much more than $50,000, to be honest, if it was really, really gutted and ripped to hell inside. So that's what I want to say about that. Yeah. So, anyways, that's the thing. You got to be careful in that class of properties. You just really, and to speak to that also is, you want that outside. You're fooling yourself if you think you're going to do a lot of work inside, especially getting near the kitchen. Oh my God, everything gets very expensive. Texturing too, scraping the popcorn off, all that stuff, time and labor and money and blowing texture. I mean, it's going to cost more than you probably think it's going to be quite honest. So the best thing you do is just make it super clean inside, but the outside, I want to don't want to miss this point with you. The outside you have to make look as great as you possibly can. Like I said, get those windows clean, paint everything, caulk the heck out of all the cracks, just make it look as pretty as you possibly can. And because you want somebody to go, when they pull up, go, oh man, I hope this thing looks as good on the inside as it does on the outside, right? And then when they go in, they're going to be a little disappointed, okay? But their imagination, and then they are what we call blue sky, is they will imagine, oh wow, I can do this and I can do that, and they can do this and that, but they probably aren't going to be able to do it as cheap as they think they're going to be able to do it. And that's, but they'll figure it out. But the bottom line is make them want it from the outside, make them want it really bad from the outside, and then when they get on the inside, then they'll start to justify, what they can about, whether or not a property is going to, they'll decide what else they can do to make it fix up, and and they can do it over time, anyways. But the bottom, my phone keeps giving me an error on the screen, so I got to keep touching the screen. Anyways, but yeah, that outside, making it look pop. In fact, I'm going to take you guys right now to show you what I'm doing. Hopefully they're there. I probably got 15 people showing up for work today. Just doing major landscaping. We're putting in fences. We're gonna have a bobcat there. We're gonna regrade some of the lots a little bit, and but again, I'm doing 3 houses that are all one right next to the other. So there's economies of scale when you got that situation, and I'm taking advantage of that. So these guys are gonna be working on 3 different houses as if it's one. Running the tractor back and forth, and they're going up to Home Depot and Lowe's, and I bought a bunch of rock, and I'm going to put a fire pit in the backyard, and we're going to get this all done probably today. This will be a major deal in one day, but we're going to be there for several days. But I got fences to put in, and I'll keep you on here long enough that I'll show you that, and then we'll shut it down. But yeah, like I say, you make that. It's that curb appeal, right? That first impression, and that's what you get on the outside of a property, is you get the first impression, and you don't want to blow that. You want people to go up and go, wow, and like you see, I've trimmed all these trees. If you looked at some of my old videos, I clean up, just get rid of all the debris, make it so they can see how big the lot is. That's really important, especially if you got a big lot. You want to make sure everybody knows that, hey, this has got some potential. They can, imagine building a shop in the backyard, or imagine, a big addition onto the house, whatever their dreams are associated with getting a new home or buying the property, whatever it is, their imagination can run wild, and you're just kind of giving them an open canvas or somewhat of a framed picture, and they can add to it, right? So that's what I'm doing. And like I said, I'm even putting a fire pit in the backyard. You can get these kits for $219, and it's about 30 rocks or stones that are shaped, fake stone, that are shaped in such a way, and they got a metal ring that drops in the top. And so it's just kind of a cool looking fire pit. But see, I'll drop these in the backyard of these houses I'm going to sell, and then when people go back there, they'll go, oh yeah, we can have fires back here, and we can, they'll campfire with the kids in the backyard. It's a nice thought, right? And so we'll go in here. This is my neighborhood. One of the neighborhoods that I bought up, I should say. But yeah, I'm excited. We've had nothing but crappy weather and rain here lately. And here's the other thing. Like these homes I'm showing you, I'm applying the same things that I've told you about. That in regard to even the cheaper homes. Like I said, the stuff that's under 50, these homes are 500,000 plus. But I'm spending, maybe $5,000 to $10,000. You count the tree trimming I did, then I am spending $10,000, just on the yards alone. In fact, this is one I sold about a year ago, right? I always think this one kind of reminds me of the Brady Bunch house. But anyhow, big, beautiful trees. Everything's beautiful. Made a lot of money on that place. And now we're going to go up to where I had 4 more. I sold one of these already. And the guys aren't here yet. But let's just stop here because this is a good vantage point. So I own this house right here. You see all those little holes? Or you see these little piles? That's rock, you see, because they've been digging down, because I'm going to put a fence all the way around that property. That big, beautiful property there. And then the house beyond that I own, and this corner here. So this corner here, we're going to be putting in fence posts too. I'm going to paint that so all that stuff really pops. I mean, kind of leaning towards like an avocado green with some of the pastel colors. But I'll bring you guys back. I'll fill you in on some of this today. But you can see that's what's going on. With these you can see this, that's rock, okay, where these are holes. That's a hole. There's a hole every 8 feet. There's a hole because we're going to put posts in, and I'm going to have just a huge, beautiful fence around there. So anyways, that's what's going on. But I just wanted to add to Ben Mallah's comments. I'll put the link to that video. He really, when I listen to him talk, I feel like I hear myself talking because it's the same advice. And that's because we've both been through a similar route in creating our empire. He has a background in managing property. I've only managed my own property, and I've never managed somebody else's. So, but he had a good lesson with managing other properties. What he learned is if you don't manage somebody's property well and keep it full, then you're going to be out of a job. So where my incentive was purely, I bought property, I had to keep it full till I could make the mortgage, and make money because that was important. He had a different incentive. His was he was working for managers managing properties, but with his deal was you got to keep it full or you're not going to be able to take the check on that management fee. They get anywhere from 5 to 8% managing property, and so if you don't keep it full, and all of a sudden the landlord's got to take money out of his personal account, throw it in the operating account just to get the mortgage paid, he's not going to be happy with you. So he knew he had to keep properties full. So in a way, that's an advantage because he had to get innovative, keeping those properties full and attracting people to come in. And again, like I said, a lot of it's the curb appeal and getting them in for the first place, and then and then sell them on staying. But in so that's it. I'm gonna cut it here, but I really like Ben Mallah's stuff, and I urge you to watch it too. Anyways, and I'll add on to whatever else if I think he's left to holes, because believe me, even every time I talk, there's holes that I could have covered something a little bit better. So anyways, that's it. FlipAnything USA. Be sure to share, subscribe, hit that notification button so you'll get on more of the live stuff, and get my book. You can get my book for $10, and it's just a concentration of how I've done it. Take care. Thanks.